Welcome back to the BlackTrack, where I do commentary and review on movies with an all-black cast or at least a black lead. I'm on the couch now, and I'm not even going to go into the long story about why that is. The next two BlackTrack videos are going to be for movies that I should have seen a long time ago, but for whatever reason, never did. Because of that, I might get disinvited to a few cookouts, but that's okay, because I'm going to correct that mistake right now. The first of the two movies that I'm seeing for the first time is Belly. Yeah, I know. Hey, cut that out. There's no need for all that. Belly is the brainchild of legendary music video director Hype Williams. If you grew up in the 80s and 90s like me, then you know how much Hype Williams music videos dominated the hip-hop landscape back then. He pretty much directed 90% of the videos we saw and helped elevate the profile of dozens of artists like Biggie, Missy Elliott, Jay-Z, Busta Rhymes, and many, many more. Hype Williams' style was so ahead of his time and so unique that you knew a Hype Williams video as soon as you saw it. They were essentially like 4-minute movies told through music. One of my favorite Hype Williams videos ever, and one of my favorite songs, is How's It Going Down by DMX. Everything from the camera placement, to the colors he uses, to the lighting, to the fades, really sets the tone for and complements the song, and I can't even listen to the song without envisioning the music video. I remember one of my cousins pointing out the fact that Hype used 7 different camera angles to capture every corner of a room, instead of rotating the camera. And this was in 1998. We were teenagers, by the way. Who other than Hype Williams can have teenagers breaking down cinematography in a music video? I guess it's appropriate then that Hype Williams translated his skill for music videos to the big screen for 1998's Belly in the same year, and brought along DMX as his leading star. Belly tells the story of Tommy Buns Bundy, played by DMX, and Sincere, played by legendary rapper Nas, as they attempt to crawl their way out of the hood in the crime game the best way they know how. By more crime, of course. That's pretty much all I can say to describe Belly. It is a very by-the-numbers crime movie, almost to a fault. It wears its inspirations on its sleeve throughout the entire movie, and majority of the cast are musical artists. With a first-time director, it sounds like a recipe for a disaster, but you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Can a movie that I've never seen, but it's been hyped up to death over the years, live up to its massive reputation? Let's BlackTrack and find out. Belly starts out with what might be one of the best and most stylish intros to a movie I've ever seen. The opening scene alone could be considered a music video. It has all the Hype Williams hallmarks: slow motion, different color schemes, contact lenses because, it just looks good, I guess. As you'll see, there are several aspects of the film that serve no real purpose but just to look good on camera. And looks good it does. Say what you want about Hype Williams, but the guy knows style. Turn your head when he starts trying to give you a seizure though with these flashing lights. What the hell was he thinking? It's been speculated by many who worked on the movie that Hype Williams pretty much blew the budget on this one scene alone, and that it was downhill from here. Anyway, Tommy, Sincere, their friend Black, and their friend Mark walk right up to the main office of this strip club, formerly known as the Tunnel in real life, and take out the great value security on their way to straight murder this woman and steal her money. Hell, I want to know more about the middle-aged white woman strip club owner in the middle of the hood in New York. How the hell did that happen? That's going to become a trend with the movie Belly. There are several characters throughout the movie who seem more interesting than our main characters, and who I personally wanted to know more about, but we get nothing. When I first started telling people that I was going to watch Belly for the first time, one of those people told me good luck, because it's one of the darkest movies he's ever seen. Not dark as in the tone of the film, but literally dark, as in you can't see a damn thing. It's dark and hell is hot indeed. You would think that was a rookie director mistake, but no, Hype Williams did this on purpose, because he wanted you to have the feeling of being in the car yourself on a dark city street. Now, why the rest of the movie is so dark is anybody's guess. I'm just telling you what the man said. Thank God Tommy's house is mostly white. It can't help but blind you. Man, this house is so nice. The way that black art contrasts with the white. I probably would have loved to have something like this when I was younger, but now that I'm older, all I can think is, who the hell is gonna clean all this white? It ain't gonna be Tommy's girl Keisha, played by Terrell Hicks. That's for damn sure. She didn't get with a criminal to become a maid. For all of that, she could have stayed in the Bronx with Cal. Man, she's really grown up, hasn't she? I can't quite come up with a word to describe how she looks in these scenes. The best way to describe it is greasy. There's a lot of scenes where the characters are just shiny for no reason. Actually, there is a reason. According to Hype, he said that most movies at the time had no idea how to film black people to enhance their blackness, so he oiled everybody up to make the melanin really shine. no pun intended. It may sound silly, but Hype Williams was actually a little ahead of his time, especially if you look at movies like 2016's Moonlight, where the characters were similarly shiny. Anyway, back to Keisha. She's the stereotypical girlfriend of the street dude, and notice I didn't say drug dealer. That's because he's not quite there yet. He actually gets the idea where most of life's best ideas come from, in the shower. He hears an MTV news brief from Kurt Loder, which by the way, it doesn't get any more 90s than Kurt Loder, and it's talking about a new form of heroin that's hitting the streets. At the same time that's going on, Keisha is in the other room going off because she called the number back that kept paging Tommy. That's right, I said paging. And it's Vita, a rapper from the late 90s and early 2000s who completely disappeared from the rap game without releasing a single major album. She's Tommy's side chick, but listen to this.
Cut the bullshit, aight? Are you fucking Tommy or what?
Well, not exactly, you see. I'm only 16. So Tommy said we couldn't fuck yet. But I did suck his dick the night before last.
You what?
Say the fuck what? And just in case you think she's lying just to make Keisha mad. They wrote your boy DMX as a whole pedophile. A weird plot point that doesn't even go anywhere. It does lead to some animalistic makeup sex though. The sex scene is a scene that Hype Williams says he regrets because he says if he could go back, he wouldn't film DMX and Keisha so gratuitously. He said he'd show a lot more of Nas and his girl Tion, played by T-Boz Watkins. Yes, you heard that right. Her name in the movie is her name in real life. Hype also said that the MPAA threatened the movie with an NC-17 rating for the original scene. So of course now I want to see how overboard the original scene was. There's a hater in every group, and this time it's this dude named Black. He helped Tommy and Sincere rob the club, but he didn't get the same cut as them. I mean, he kinda has a gripe to be honest. His biggest mistake really is running his mouth and letting people know he doesn't like Sincere, especially letting that info get back to Tommy. This is basically a twist on a scene from Goodfellas, when Joe Pesci's character, also named Tommy coincidentally, shoots a guy weaker than him because of perceived disrespect. That's always been one of my biggest gripes with these type of movies, the constant need to copy the other Italian and mob type movies. I've always felt like we should have been telling our own stories away from those type of movies. I mean, all the pieces were there. I think the characters in this movie that didn't get enough screen time were more than interested enough to do something new. Like for instance, this guy Lennox, otherwise known as Ox, played by dancehall legend Louis Rankin, who ends up being the plug for Tommy and his heroin. He has an intimidating presence, a big cool ass house, and he's authentic. Mostly because Hype Williams made the decision to let him use his real accent in the movie, instead of one of those stupid Hollywood ones. You know the ones I'm talking about, where Jamaicans say, "Hey man," 1,000,000 times. Yeah, it makes him kind of hard to understand, and the person who did the subtitles basically gave up on him, but at least it's unique. He could have been an even greater character, but he's written to be a combination of Tony Montana and Sosa from the movie Scarface. Just disappointing. Belly kind of makes up for it though, because unlike other drug movies, these dudes go and sell the drugs outside the community. Well damn, about time. They go all the way to Nebraska to set up shop, and the movie makes it clear who the clientele is. It's too bad they weren't the first to think of the idea.
Might have to drop a dime on them niggas.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotta stop.
I don't like that shit.
If you can't tell, that's Tyron Turner, aka Kane from Menace to Society, in a wig and thick glasses. In this movie, his name is Big Head Rico, and there's only room for one perm in this town. He don't need no second bananas. So he calls the cops to report what's going on, and it results in a raid that gets Mark killed. I would say I care, but Hassan Johnson had like 3 lines in this entire movie. At least he got to do the wire after this. The best part of this scene is the stunt at the end of the police chase, where a stuntman runs the car under a truck bed. Hype said that the stuntman ducked down at the last minute to make it look as real as possible and to not shrink a few inches in the process. It's amazing, but also crazy as hell for a movie with this kind of budget. The movie spends a disrespectful amount of time in Jamaica to show off Tommy and Ox's relationship. It's excessive, and the only thing I could think of is that the crew saw an excuse to take a slick vacation and disguise it as filming. I know I said the movie itself is one long music video, but this trip is definitely one long music video, complete with Sean Paul performing on stage and dancers. Seriously, put any other song with it and you wouldn't know the difference.
It's a good girl, turn me on till the early morn. Let's get it on, let's get it on till the early morn. Girl, it's all good, just turn me on. Girl, don't sweat it, don't get agitated, girl, go.
Anyway, the whole point of this trip is because Ox wanted Tommy to repay him for the drugs by killing the son of one of his enemies. This guy here, who looks like Bobby Smurder's brother. Tommy sneaks up on him and pretends to be a beggar in a stereotypical wig, but the joke's on me because the wig clearly worked, because I had to rewind to see that it was actually DMX because I missed it the first time. And it kinda sucks that Bobby Smurder's brother had to go out like this because he was about to be all philanthropic and everything. Plus, once again, I wanted to know more about this dude with the feathers in his hair and the rest of his family. Another case where other characters seem to have more interesting stories than our main characters. Especially Sincere. I assume it was discovered early on that Nas is nowhere near as charismatic as DMX, so his role was greatly reduced. I mean, he has a few scenes here or there, mostly reacting to Tommy's shenanigans, but he's really just here as a counter argument since he wants out of the game entirely and has plans to move to Africa. Oh yeah? Any country in particular, Sincere? Or just generic old Africa? He's right on time with those thoughts too, because the feds are tearing down their empire one brick at a time. They already got Mark, then they take in Keisha and raid Tommy's house. They even got their friend Knowledge, who was the shadowy figure who gave them intel. Tommy doesn't like that though, because for a dude named Knowledge, he sure makes dumb decisions. Well, not completely dumb. He does set up payback on Rico by sending a Method Man down there to infiltrate. His methods are somewhat effective. He does get Rico, but he also gets shot in the process. The Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to mess with, but I guess alone, you can kind of mess with them. That's not enough for Tommy though. He still won't bail Knowledge out, and that sets off a chain of events that takes this movie in a bunch of different drastic directions. You see, Belly has introduced so many different threads, at this point, it feels like it has to resolve all of them immediately. Tommy instigates a fight with some friends that ends with one of them getting shot, and Tommy just sits there like, damn, now I gotta pay for this nigga food. It feels like the movie couldn't think of any other way for him to get arrested. Then, a friend of the guy Ox had killed in Jamaica put a hit out on Ox, and the scene plays out in no way, shape, or form like the movie Scarface. Trust me on this one. There is absolutely nothing similar about the two assassinations. You see, in Scarface, Tony Montana gets taken by surprise by a male assassin, but in Belly, it's a female. See? Totally different. In all seriousness though, this woman assassin is kinda badass. Her name is Chiquita, and again, I would much rather know more about her history. So that's the White Club owner, Ox, Bobby Smurder brother, Big Head Rico, and Chiquita, who all come across as more interesting characters in this movie than our main characters. Belly needs a prequel. After all of that, Belly decides it needs to take a time out to preach to you. It's so out of place because we were never introduced to this little guy who Nas strikes a conversation with. He's headed down the wrong path, and Nas takes the opportunity to try to steer him in the right direction after seeing his own situation crumble. It's just one of those things where every black movie in the 90s felt like it needed a preachable, teachable moment. They really didn't though, because not every thread needs to have a positive ending, and not every message needs to be fed to you. It could have been left out, but I do like the low saturation look to it. Even Hype Williams felt like it was unnecessary in hindsight. It just further highlights how the movie started to lose focus after it went over budget and you got past the shiny exterior, no pun intended. For instance, Tommy magically gets out of jail and is approached by a federal agent. It's assumed he got Tommy out of jail to use him, and all of his scenes are filmed with this faraway wide shot. I actually really like the shot because it makes the guy come across as really mysterious, and you would think it was intentional, but nah, the actor, Frank Vincent, who played Billy Bats in Goodfellas, just didn't want to cut his hair. I don't know why it was so important for him to cut his hair in the first place, but it led to some unintentional greatness. They missed an opportunity here though, because as shiny as everybody was in this movie, at least once they should have had Frank Vincent say,
"Now go home and get your fucking shine box."
Things are falling apart on both fronts. Remember that guy Black who Tommy embarrassed after the club heist? It's amazing to me that they thought he would just let that slide. You stripped this man down to his nuts and you thought he would just go home and write about it in his journal? Negative. He tries to take out Nas while he's discussing future ether with rapper AZ, but he should have left this guy with the army fatigue home. It's just something about dudes in army fatigue that just sabotages people's aim. If you remember, the dudes who tried and failed to kill Tupac in that elevator were wearing armor fatigues. It's like an ironic curse. That attempted murder is enough for Sincere. And between that and Method Man attempting to kill Tion earlier, a random spot in Africa doesn't sound so bad. Speaking of that scene, it's the only scene in the movie where the darkness is kind of effective. So with Nas being gone and everybody else more or less dead, how do you think Belly ends? Well, I guarantee, if you saw it for the first time, you'd never guess. The mysterious agent tells Tommy that to avoid jail, he has to infiltrate and join a Nation of Islam-like organization so that he could get close enough to the leader, Reverend Savior, and assassinate him. Seems out of place to you? Trust me, you're not alone. This is the most out of place that you could get in a movie like this. It's another chance for the movie to try to preach to you, but at least this time, it's coming from an actual preacher, as he's played by Benjamin F. Chavez, a guy who worked alongside people like Martin Luther King back in the day and was actually in the Nation of Islam. Hype Williams wanted to get the actual Minister Louis Farrakhan to play this role, but the Nation agreed that they didn't want Farrakhan associated with this type of movie. His loss, because the speech is actually pretty good. A little long and heavy-handed, but good. Good enough to get Tommy to abandon his mission and I guess continue a life without crime. I mean, he's already got the smart man fresh out of jail glasses, so he's halfway there. But wait a minute, does this mean that he's gonna abandon Keisha? And what about his sex offender status? The good Reverend really has his work cut out for him. Let's get to the grade. I went into Belly completely blind. I had only ever seen the intro back in 1998, and everybody who talks about it never really talks about it in great detail, and now I know why. Belly has so much going on that it's hard to really narrow down what it's about. The funny thing is, it's a movie that's full of great ideas, but with no real direction on how to execute them in a coherent way. Hype Williams tried to put every idea and inspiration he's ever had into the movie, like most first-time directors do, but he didn't have nearly enough time or budget to pull it off. Is it a great movie? Absolutely not, at least not story-wise, but is it a bad movie? Well, that's a little harder to say. It's a hard movie to rate because the movie is so stylish and well shot. It's a shame that this is Hype Williams' only movie because he really knows where to place a camera. Every shot is really meticulous and perfect, and it's clear that it's his strength. Everything from the colors to the clothing and the set design is top notch and helps elevate the movie and makes you forget that everything happening around it is incredibly mediocre. I would have liked for more of the background characters to be fleshed out more because they really are intriguing, but like I said earlier, that would have required a prequel. For it to feature like 90% musical artists, the acting isn't even as bad as you might expect either. That's why I feel like this movie is in a weird place historically. It's not going to be chosen for preservation or anything, but I still think it holds a special historical place for people who grew up in the 90s like myself. Even though I didn't get to see it when it was released, it still felt like a nostalgic time capsule movie that took me back to a time when I would come home from school, turn on Rap City and MTV Jams, and get excited about the latest Hype Williams video. That's why for Belly, I kind of have to give it 2 grades. My grade for Belly's story is a D-. It's a mess. But my grade for Belly's visual style is a B. It's a beautifully shot movie, even if it is way too dark sometimes. And that's it for this episode of the BlackTrack. As usual, let me know what you thought about the movie Belly in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about my channel. Maybe next time, I'll be back in the chair. Until then, I'll holler at you.